Welcome to the very first visual podcast of Mocha Latte After Dark. I am your host, JJ Fitzgerald, and typically I do an audio podcast which can be heard on iTunes, and you can click on the link below to check those out. But I wanted to try something different, switch it up a little bit. Today's topic is going to be the perils of online dating. I have been online dating, and I'm really embarrassed to say this and quite ashamed to say this, for 9 years. I began the whole online dating thing back in 2007 when I was going through a divorce. And let me just say, I had been off the market for 16 years, pretty much. So it was all new terrain to me, all new territory. Now, yes, back in the day, when I was dating, there were personal ads in the back of the paper. There was no social media. There was no internet. So things were a lot different. And I have experienced some bumps and bruises along the way. But I wanted to share one particular story today. And I'm also going to give some pointers for those of you who are kind of new to the game, or some of you who are actually have been in it but didn't know about certain things that you can do to confirm someone's identity or verify a phone number or whatever. So I'm going to give some pointers. But let me just say, this whole online thing has been quite the journey. It's been crazy, and I think that the internet, basically online dating sites in particular, are a platform for crazy people. And not to say that there are not good people on there, because there are, but you really have to filter and weed through some real psychos to get to those people, the decent people. But this story that I'm going to share it's unbelievable, and when I tell it, I feel like people look at me like, this chick is lying, like she's totally making it up. But I'm not making it up at all. So anyway, this was 2010. I had 2.5 years into the whole online dating game. So I was a little more savvy with it, a little bit more investigative. I knew the things to look for, the signs to look for. And so I was on a particular site, and I don't want to say the name of the site because I don't want to give them a bad rap in any way. But I clicked on this guy, and he lived in Louisiana. And well, this is what his profile stated. He lived in Louisiana. He was a lawyer. He had 2 children. He was divorced, and he was seeking a long-term, serious relationship. So then I clicked out of him, and then he clicked on me, and then he sent me a message. And so he basically told me the same thing, that he's a lawyer, he has 2 kids, he's divorced. Told me that his wife had cheated on him, and they had been together since they were 15 years old, and sounded reasonable. So as time went on and we exchanged our names and everything, including surname, I decided to research him like I do. So I'm like, okay, if he's a lawyer, I should be able to pull up some of his cases or whatever, and I should be able to confirm that he's a lawyer through the bar member directory of Louisiana. So when I was punching in his name, on Google and on the bar member directory, I wasn't finding anything. And so I basically asked him, hey, what's up? Like, I can't find anything on you, And he's like, why are you researching me? And I'm like, well, I always research people because, I'm a single woman. So I just told him, I said, it's a safety thing. I have to be cautious, and I've had people, try to pull some tricks on me. So, and I feel like you shouldn't be offended that I researched you. And that's one thing I will say right now. This is one pointer to you guys. If someone becomes offended when you tell them that you're researching them, that should be a red flag. And that should be a clue that they're trying to hide something. Because why do you care if you're being researched if you have nothing to hide? So I told him just straight up, I was like, listen, I'm like super sleuth on this internet. So if there's anything that you need to tell me, it would behoove you to tell me right now, because I am going to ultimately find out. And he's like, no, no, no. And I'm like, what are you, in the witness protection program? So after that conversation, he sent me a text saying, you were right, and I'm sorry, I'm to kind of laugh at this because it's really ridiculous, but he's like, you were right, after Hurricane Katrina, I put away a lot of notorious gang leaders and I had to have all of my information wiped off the internet. And I'm thinking to myself, like, does this guy really think that I'm that gullible? Like, really? I might be a little gullible, but not that gullible. So I started laughing and I just said, I just played along with it. I was like, because now at this point now, like my curiosity has been piqued. And I'm like, okay, now I really need to research this guy to see what it is that he is hiding, because it must be something major. So I just played along with him, like, oh my goodness, like, wow, that's so scary. And, yeah. And he, would call me quite frequently. And so there was this one day that I'm like, okay, I haven't heard from him like all day. That's kind of weird. It was a Sunday. So I started Googling his email address. And you know how when you Google something, as you're Googling it, it starts to yield results. Well, it started to yield results and it gave me a different name. It gave me what was his first name, middle name, and last name. So basically what he did was he gave me his middle name and his last name to try to hide his identity. But now I had access to his first name. So I Googled his first name and his last name, and wow. It took me to a link. And it was the link of a mega church in Louisiana. And yeah, this guy wasn't a lawyer, okay? He wasn't a lawyer. He wasn't divorced. Hence why now, when I think about it, like everything like started to make sense. When he would call me, especially at night, he would be, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Talking really, really low, whispering. And I should have known from that, oh, this dude he's married. So I read the bio, and he didn't have 2 kids. Like it stated in his profile, he had 5 kids with this woman. It's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is not at all what I anticipated. A pastor of a mega church, like really? And I'm not saying that pastors are perfect. We all know that they aren't, but my gosh, I'm like, of all the people that I encounter, I encounter a pastor of a mega church who's trying to pass himself off as an attorney and trying to hook up with me, inviting me out to Louisiana. I called my best friend. I'm like, you're not going to believe this. Like, I was in such utter shock, And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah, that dude I was talking to, he's a freaking pastor. He's not a lawyer. So I texted him and I was like, hey, I haven't heard from you, and the reason being he was preaching all day. So I told him, I said, I want to cam, because basically what I wanted to do was cam with him and get his reaction on cam when I laid out everything that I had found out. Finally, he, texted me back, oh, you want to cam? Okay, we can cam later. So I'm assuming when we would cam, he was either camming me from like a little bachelor pad that nobody knew about, or from like an office somewhere. I don't know. But a couple hours later, he texted me, okay, I'm ready to cam. So we got on Yahoo Messenger. Shout out to Yahoo Messenger. I don't know if anybody uses that anymore, but that was my thing. And so we got on there, and he's just like, I can't wait to see you, and I'm falling in love with you, and all this stuff. And for some reason, the cam was playing up. So I typed, can I ask you something? And he was like, sure. So I was like, do you have a wife? Are you a pastor? Do you have 5 children? And there was like this pause, for a minute. And then he's like, I'm ordained to be a pastor, but I'm an attorney. So he's still lying. So then he says that the wife brought 3 children into the marriage, but only 2 of them. He had only 2 biological children. And I was thinking to myself, okay, dude, you told me you met your wife when you were 15 years old, that you'd been with her since you were 15. So you're telling me that she came into your relationship at 15 with 3 children already? I guess he, being the liar that he is, and a terrible one at that, forgot that he had given me all this information. And so he says, I can't believe you dug up all this trash on me or something like that. And I'm like, trash? Your 5 kids, your wife, and the fact that you're a pastor, you consider that trash? I was like, wow, So I just said to him, I was like, or typed to him, I said, don't contact me anymore. I said, you're very fortunate that you did this with me. And I said, you really need to take yourself off that website. I said, you have pictures on there. People from your congregation can see you. Like, what are you doing? And so I was like, I gotta go. And so I clicked off. So then he texted me, can we have one more conversation, please? Just one phone call. So I agreed to it because I couldn't believe this. And I just wanted to hear what other crap he was going to spew. So he called me and he's crying on the phone. Now it was probably fake crying, but he's like, she cheated on me, and with my friend, and all this stuff. And I said, you know what? Like, okay, that's all what it is, but if that's indeed what it is, but you can't, this is your way of paying her back by going on a dating site and pretending like you're an attorney when you're actually a pastor. I'm like, you do realize, like, you're a man of the cloth. Like, you're going to be judged more harshly than, anyone else would. I said, and not only that, you're counseling people. And he's like, well, I just wanted to meet regular people. I'm so sick of hearing hallelujah and praise the Lord all the time. What? I was just like, it sounds like you're spiraling out of control. Now I'm counseling a pastor, okay? I said, it sounds like you're spiraling out of control and you need to maybe take a leave of absence, because you should not be shepherding anybody at this point with your life the way that it is. You need to figure out what you're doing with your wife, whether it be working it out, divorcing her, whatever, but you should not be including any third parties, like girls, that you're trying to date on the side. Like, that's not going to help your situation. It's just going to make matters worse. So I said, first and foremost, take yourself off that site. Like, take yourself off that site. And he's like, I don't know how to do it, and da-da-da-da. I said, well, I can help you. So I actually helped him take himself off the site. And then he just started, like, calling me and, like, texting me, like, every single day. Basically, I became his therapist. And I was in the midst of, moving. And so I didn't really have time for the antics. You know what I mean? Like, so when I moved here, he actually sent me money. And I don't know if that was, like, hush money or what, but he sent me money. He was still calling me frequently and texting me. And I was like, dude, like, I can't be on the phone with you like I was in California. Like, I'm working. Like, I am in a brand new place. Like, I'm trying to get acclimated here. I don't have time to be your counselor. And he would leave me, like, crazy text messages, voicemail messages and stuff like that. And so I ultimately changed my phone number because it was just getting too crazy. And then several months later, I saw him back on the site, still telling the same lies, same occupation as a lawyer, 2 kids, divorce, the same stuff. And I just said, you know what? I can't help this guy. And that is my story. So yeah, insane. Some pointers I want to give you guys. If you're online dating, if someone gives you a phone number, like for me, for example, I am a big proponent of Google Voice. Okay. Google Voice is my best friend because, and I've said this in the podcast, my audio podcast, Google Voice is great because you can block people really easily. You can put your phone on Do Not Disturb. And I know there are some phones that you can do that with as well if you give somebody your regular phone number. But I am not comfortable with giving out my cell phone number to anybody anymore, only because of some of the things that have happened during the course of my online dating journey. So I always give out my Google Voice. And then when I deem the person sane or, worthy of giving them my cell phone number, then I give it to them. But I always do Google Voice. So that's the first thing. If you don't have a Google Voice number, create one. Now, there are 2 phone number verification sites that I love. One is called Phone Validator, phonevalidator.com. And basically, you put that number, put whatever number they give you in there, and it'll tell you, like, if it's a Google Voice number or some other kind of VoIP number, or it'll tell you if it's AT&T or, Sprint or whatever. So I love that website. And I find that men are more prone to give you their real cell phone number. I think more women will use like a Google Voice or something like that. So typically if a guy gives me his number, I always go there first to find out what's up, because I'm like, okay, if it's one of those Google Voice or VoIP numbers, then I'm a little bit more suspicious. And it doesn't mean that they're not legitimate, but it does make me a little bit more suspicious, because guys typically, and I'm not trying to be offensive, don't take the extra time to like exercise caution or whatever. That's why you hear so many stories from guys saying that they flew 5,000 miles to meet a woman only to find out that she wasn't the person in the picture and she was like 1,000 pounds, or the picture was 30 years old and she doesn't look the same, and she came out on a walker with a walker. So guys are they're just a little bit more trusting a lot of times. And then the other website that I go to is spydialer.com. And Spydialer, if I guess the information is in their records or whatever, they'll give you the person's name a lot of times. Now, you can opt out of these, or out of Spydialer. You can't opt out. You can take your number out of there. And I took my Google Voice number out of there because I didn't realize that when people put my Google Voice number in there, they can get my full name. And I just didn't appreciate that. So I opted out of that. So you can opt your number out if you want. So yeah, those are 2 sites that are really, really important in my online dating journey, as I like to call it, to put it kindly and nicely. Oh, you can also, if someone gives you their phone number, you can also, if you have a Facebook, you can put it in there. Or if they give you their email, you can put their email in there to kind of look at their Facebook as well and see what's going on. Now, there are a lot of fake profiles that will, like, you can usually know if someone gives you their phone number or their email and you go to the Facebook, you kind of know if it's fake, because they'll have like the same exact pictures on there from the dating site, which is usually one picture. They'll have like 9 friends. They will have, created the Facebook page like maybe a few days before they messaged you, or the day that they messaged you. So those are things to look out for as well. And, as you basically continue online dating, these are all things that will kind of like register with you, and you'll become a professional. And I hope that you don't become a professional. I hope you're not on that long like I have been, almost a decade. I should have a celebration next year. But but yeah, so that's it. I hope that these little pointers helped. If you have any questions or want to share a story or whatever, please feel free to email me at mochalatteafterdark@yahoo.com. Thank you so much for listening, watching, and do be careful out there.